everyone, welcome back to my channel. I wanted to do a quick update on my garden. I was kind of embarrassed to make this video because so much has gone wrong in my garden this year, but I've had people asking for some updates, mostly on my strawberries. So here are the two new strawberry beds that I was building last year. There's going to be a lot of barking because my dog is out here, but these are the Whopper strawberries from Gurney that I've had most people asking about. They produced runners this year and I've gotten quite a bit larger. However, I'd like to point out how resilient they are because at the beginning of the spring, I dug all of the strawberry plants up because the soil level had gotten so low in this bed. And then I fertilized the soil and replanted them. And when I did that, they all ended up dying. But eventually a little green sprig grew in the middle of all of them and they all came back to life. I did cover them with pine straw over the winter, and when I dug them up, they looked beautiful. So it's my fault why they ended up not being as healthy as they should be. I did get about, I would say, 20 large strawberries off of them though, before they stop producing for summer. Here's some marigolds that I planted in here to keep some pests away. These are my blueberry plants. And I wanted to tell y'all what I did wrong with them. So when I filled the soil in, I didn't dig them up. I just added the soil around the base. And while they did produce blueberries, they were so tiny and took forever to ripen. And then I realized what I had done wrong. So with blueberry plants, you need to keep the soil just above the roots, because if you bury them too deep, it cuts off oxygen to the plant and they will not grow well or produce blueberries, which has been my problem. They haven't grown that much and they didn't produce as much blueberries this year. So lessons learned. I'll fix that for spring next year. This grapevine that I planted last year has mostly died. The one on this side, I did get to train, but then it caught a disease and none of the grapes made. So then I realized that even though the grapevine might be okay to grow in the zone that you live in, you have to also take into account the humidity level where you live. So this fall, I'm going to dig up these two Thompson grapevines and plant some Muscadine grapevines here. And further on down in the garden, I'm going to plant some more grapevines that are perfect for where I live in the south. Over in this garden bed, I had squash, and I'm going to be posting a video about what I did to try to prevent the squash vine borers. However, it did not work. They kind of took hold of this plant here and it died. These are some baby muscadines that I was trying to grow. They are starting to take off a little bit. They're from last year. I think I planted them the fall, and they haven't grown that much. I'm not sure why, but I'm going to probably put these in place of the grapevines that I'm pulling on this side over here. So this is my basil. I love growing basil in my garden because when you harvest it, you pick it and you put it in gallon freezer bags. When you go to get it out, it still feels fresh, like you were to have just picked it off of the plant. And it's really good in pizza sauce, on top of your pizzas, in spaghetti sauce. I also put it in soups and salads. Over here are my cherry tomato plants. They are almost done for summer. I might replant them for a fall garden, though I haven't decided yet. I had some large tomatoes over here. They're done also. I have some zinnias growing to attract pollinators. This is a brand new jalapeno pepper plant that I just planted for my fall garden. Here's a cutling that I pulled off of my old one that was done from summer. And it's actually starting to grow, which I'm really excited about. I didn't think it would. I put root stimulator on the bottom of the cutling before I planted it, and it seems that worked. Over here are my bell pepper plants. They are pretty much done for summer. Well, I thought they were, and here's two little babies growing. So I might replant those. I don't know if I pointed it out or not, but over here I did plant another bell pepper plant for my fall garden, and I was planning on moving it over here when one of these died, but they are still going. I have some cantaloupe and watermelon growing in this bed as well. Let me show you how I'm doing that. This year I planted a very small cantaloupe variety to see if it would grow on this trellis, and it's done really well. I've already picked 3 cantaloupe off of here. They are tiny, but they're so sweet and delicious. This is one that's almost ripe and ready to pick. I just hung them up with some fishnet pantyhose that I got off of Amazon, but it has flowers all over it, so I'm hoping that it'll keep producing. And right beside it, I planted some watermelon. The small sugar babies, I thought that they may grow on this trellis, but they ended up dying off of the trellis and growing down here on the ground. There's a baby right there. There is a baby. Let's see if you can see it. Right there. And then I have some more zinnias growing right here. Right here is another muscadine grapevine that has taken off. I can't wait to see what all this one produces. I'm thinking this is the RazzMatazz that I believe I got from Gurney. So this is kind of a new variety, I believe. It's a seedless muscadine crossed with a Concord, I think. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's what that is. And it's supposed to be really sweet grape variety. Here's some more of my cantaloupe flowers growing up on my tomatoes. And then following the trellis to the other side, I have cucumbers. And I thought they were pretty much done for summer. However, they're starting to produce again, but I am going to get out here and plant some brand new cucumber plants right here. Also on this side, these are done. These were my beans, my pole beans. They are completely done for summer. I'm thinking about planting bush beans in the garden instead for fall. There is a squash variety that I'm going to plant here that is supposed to be somewhat resistant to squash vine borers, so stay tuned for that. I can't wait to see what those look like. I wish I could remember the name of them. I will post them in the video somewhere on the screens to let you know what they are, but they're a long form squash. Over here was another squash. It was my zucchini, and it got attacked by squash vine borers, by squash bugs, and it died. So I've had no luck with squash in my garden, but I'm hopeful for it to grow better in my fall garden. These are some more marigolds, some more zinnias. And over here in my brand new beds, these are strawberries. And they have produced all summer long. And I planted them late in the season, so I'm really surprised that they are still growing and still producing. These are Bonnie strawberries. And that is a variety. That's all I know is they're called Bonnie strawberries. I think I got them from Walmart, and they have taken off. I only got, I think, 4 plants, and this is what has come of them. They produce runners like crazy. You can see over here that they are just hanging off the side. There are so many runners. And then this is a Concord grapevine. It's not muscadine. And so I was going to pull it because I didn't know if it was going to be good for my climate that I live in. However, when I looked it up, it said that it could tolerate the humidity here, and it looks to be doing really good. I haven't noticed any diseases on it yet, so I'm going to train this one for fall and hopefully get some grapes off of it, maybe next year even, hopefully. Another thing that I added to my garden this year is this Meyer lemon tree. It is potted. So I'm going to have to move it inside the garage during the winter. I think it's anytime the temperatures get below 50, you move it into the garage. This is an olive tree that I also have potted that will move inside the garage during the winter. I'm going to repot this also during the winter and put it in a bigger pot just like this Meyer lemon tree, but I'll keep y'all updated on those as well, and whenever they start producing, I'll make a video on them. Here is another one of my garden fails. I have planted some potato slips in these bags, hoping that they would produce a lot of potatoes, and then I could just dump the bag out and harvest all the potatoes at once. However, they ended up rotting before they ever took off. So I have some more slips that I'm about to plant for my fall garden in these 2 bags that I'll keep y'all updated on. So that is my garden update. Sadly, a lot went wrong this year, but hopefully you can learn from my mistakes. And as soon as I get the fall garden planted, I'll update y'all on that as well. Thank y'all for watching. Bye.